While living with chronic illnesses can be a difficult process, celebrities have been bringing awareness to them and letting their fans know that they are not alone. Hi, I'm Stacey Taylor, and today I'm breaking down the top 10 celebrities you didn't know had incurable illnesses, part 2. So what celebrities did you not know had incurable illnesses, and let us know in the comments below. At number 10, we have Lil Wayne. So back in 2013, Lil Wayne went public about having epilepsy after he had a number of serious seizures that caused him to be hospitalized for a week. Upon being released, he would discuss his condition with the media. Since then, a number of episodes have occurred, and it has forced Lil Wayne to cancel gigs, and he's even had to redirect some of his private flights. Based on reports, it's been said that Lil Wayne's seizures may have been triggered more frequently lately due to stress, lack of sleep, and being under the influence. To help the star manage his epilepsy, Lil Wayne has reported that he's had to make some lifestyle changes by sleeping better and managing what he eats. Wayne first started having seizures when he was a child, however, he wasn't diagnosed with the illness back then due to a lack of knowledge. He had described fainting spells, which were probably seizures that he had when he was a child. He's also revealed that he even had a cousin who was diagnosed with epilepsy. However, he sadly passed away from his seizures. Lil Wayne has referred to the seizures in his music on several tracks, and he continues to use his story to show people that people with seizures can achieve some incredible things. Coming in at number 9, we have Nick Jonas. Back in 2007, Nick Jonas would go public and say that he has type 1 diabetes. When the singer started to experience several signs that something was wrong, at the age of 13, he would tell his parents that he needed to go see a doctor as something didn't feel right. Nick has since used his voice to point out 4 signs and symptoms that he had before he was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and this included weight loss, excessive thirst, frequent urination, and irritability. After Nick was first diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, he felt pretty devastated. However, he knew he didn't really have the time to be devastated because he had to get right into the hospital and he had to start this new crazy journey. Nick has gone on to say that he's been pretty open about sharing his signs so others can see the signs, and he wants to encourage others to share their signs so people can seek medical attention faster than they're already seeking it. Throughout his career, Nick has been pretty open about his diabetes diagnosis. In 2018, Nick would even share a side-by-side photo of himself at the age of 13 when he was first diagnosed and at the age of 26. And he would say, "The picture on the left is me a few weeks after my diagnosis, barely even 100 pounds, after having lost so much weight from my blood sugar being so high, before going to the doctor where I would find out I was diabetic. On the right is me now, happy and healthy." Hey Peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have Kim Kardashian. Over the last decade, awareness has definitely risen for psoriasis when it was revealed that one of the most photographed women in the world has it. After initially freaking out over her skin condition in an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Kim Kardashian has since adopted a more serene approach, and she's explained that she is not trying to cover it up anymore. While the star has remained hopeful for a cure, in the meantime, all she can do is just learn to accept it as part of who she is. Now, back in 2019, Kim would also explain in an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians that she was struggling with her health and that she ultimately tested positive for lupus and rheumatoid arthritis antibodies. Over the phone, you can hear Dr. Daniel Wallace telling her that her antibodies came back positive for both of the incurable illnesses. Lupus is an incurable autoimmune disease, and rheumatoid arthritis is a chronic inflammatory disorder. The fevers, rashes, and mouth sores Kim was experiencing were all part of these illnesses, in addition to exhaustion, joint pain, swollen hands, and nausea that Kim was also already experiencing. Wallace would then go on to clarify that testing positive for these antibodies can sometimes be misleading, and you can sometimes get a false positive during these screenings. However, this doesn't mean that Kim has a clear diagnosis as of yet for either of these diseases, as it can take up to years for a clear diagnosis of lupus or RA is made. At number 7, Shania Twain. In Shania Twain's Netflix documentary, the country singer could be talking about how she believed that she lost her voice forever after she contracted Lyme disease in 2003. After being bitten by a tick while horseback riding, Shania would go on to say, "My symptoms were quite scary because before I was even diagnosed, I was on stage feeling very dizzy. I was losing my balance and I was afraid I was going to fall off the stage." Shania would also explain that she was having these mini blackouts regularly, and they would happen every minute to every 30 seconds. However, one of the most devastating symptoms for Twain was when the disease took her voice. In a TV interview, Shania would note that it was a good 6 to 7 years before a doctor was able to find out that she had sustained nerve damage to her vocal cords and that Lyme disease was the direct cause of it. At this point, the country star thought she would never be able to sing again and underwent 2 open throat vocal cord surgeries along with vocal therapy, and then she would finally start to get her voice back. This actually had to be such a scary time for the star and going through that moment, but at least she found a way to do it and come out on top. At number 6, Missy Elliot. Back in 2018, after giving an inspiring speech, Missy Elliot would open up about living with Graves' disease and how she believed she overcame the autoimmune disease. Missy would reveal that she was diagnosed with Graves' disease in 2011 and that she told ABC News in a statement that year that she was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease that affects her thyroid back in 2008. Missy would also note that she was on medication for a short amount of time before quitting and that she has continued to manage her condition through a diet and exercise. Before leaving the stage, Missy would even credit her faith for the major component behind her overcoming the autoimmune disease. When she would say, "I was sick and I couldn't even lift a pen. My nervous system had broken all the way down. I couldn't come up in a wheelchair. Nobody helped me get up here. I'm walking by the grace of God." Elliot first found out that she had Graves' disease after she started experiencing tremors. Now, Graves' disease is 5 times more common in women than it is in men, and doctors aren't quite sure what causes the disease as of yet, but the condition can be treated with beta blockers, anti-thyroid medications, radiation, and surgery. And number 5, Nick Cannon. There's no easy way to describe Nick Cannon, as he is a man of multiple talents. Even with having a successful career, he was never prepared for the biggest challenge he would have to face. Back in January of 2012, Nick would be diagnosed with lupus kidney disease after he had experienced symptoms of fatigue and swelling in his knees before a New Year's vacation in Aspen that worsened while he was there. Although at first he thought he may have been experiencing these symptoms because he was at a higher elevation in Colorado, when the star started to have trouble breathing and he started to experience pain in his kidneys, he would then seek medical help. He would then be hospitalized after doctors ran some tests and they would confirm his diagnosis. With the hospital being the last place he wanted to be during his family's winter vacation, over the last decade he's had some pretty close calls and he's had to receive blood transfusions, chemotherapy, and hospitalization. Throughout his journey, he's also had to change everything about the way he lives, and it hasn't been an easy journey for him. Although Nick has had some pretty big dramatic changes in his life, at the end of it he came out stronger and he continues to live day by day and focus on building a foundation for both his mental and physical health. Since his diagnosis, Nick has been using his platform to help others living with lupus, and he wants his voice to bring proper awareness to the illness. Number 4, Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman has a devoted, deep characteristic to his voice, and it's created this art of acting, which has allowed him to become one of the most recognizable actors today. However, what some fans may not know is back in 2008, after a severe car crash, it would leave the actor with a life-changing chronic illness, fibromyalgia. With Morgan starring in some of the most successful films in Hollywood like $1 Million Baby, concerns were immediately raised when it emerged that the star was involved in a serious accident that left him and his passenger with serious injuries, suffering from a broken arm, an elbow, and shoulder damage in the crash. The star would have to spend 4.5 hours in surgery to repair the nerves and damage to his left arm and hand. Shortly after, Morgan would reveal his long-term damage the car crash had left on him. When asked about his pain during an interview, he would explain that he now suffers from a condition known as fibromyalgia, a condition that causes widespread of pain and extreme tiredness. He would then explain that he can feel it go up and down his arm and the pain can be so excruciating to deal with. Despite doctors telling the actor that his condition would improve back in 2011, the star still needed to wear a compression glove and that his nerve damage didn't get any better. The overall illness has caused Morgan to be extremely triggered by it physically and emotionally, and he has tried to move on and figure out how to live his life with this incurable illness. And number 3, we have Jamie-Lynn Sigler. In 2002, Jamie-Lynn Sigler landed one of the most coveted roles on television. With being only 20 years old at the time, she had a promising future ahead of her. However, that trajectory would change one evening after a busy day of filming. As the star remembers walking into her New York City apartment, she remembers feeling a heaviness and tingling in her legs, symptoms that she felt 2 years earlier that put her in the hospital and eventually led to her misdiagnosis of Lyme disease. This time though felt different for her, as she was feeling pins and needle sensation in her legs and feet. The star was also having some problems with urinary flow. While at first she may have thought it was a bladder infection, when the star noticed that her abnormal sensations in her legs legs weren't subsiding, she would ask her parents to take her to the emergency department, where she would be ordered to take a lumbar puncture, which is a diagnosis test that is used to elevate multiple sclerosis, an MRI, and a CT scan to detect the diseases related to changes in the brain and spinal cord. When her results finally came in, Jamie-Lynn would be diagnosed with MS. At first, Jamie-Lynn was shocked. She had trouble with her diagnosis, and she eventually just kept her illness a secret, which led to her to suffer from depression, so she continues to encourage others to speak about their illnesses as it will help. And number 2, we have Jessi J. 5 years after being diagnosed with adenomyosis, Jessi J is still hoping that she will be able to conceive naturally despite her condition. With her condition affecting a woman's fertility, the singer has said that she has been told that she might struggle to conceive naturally. However, she still remains hopeful to one day become pregnant. When Jessi J was diagnosed 5 years ago, her condition was compared to being similar to endometriosis, as it causes the inner lining of a womb to break through the muscle lining of the uterus. It can also cause prolonged menstruation, severe cramps, bloating, and it contributes to fertility issues. Jessi has explained that the pain she has had to go through with the illness is the hardest thing that she's ever had to do. While the star gets severe pain, she always tries to manage it psychologically, and having children was always such a big thing for her. And finding out that she might be infertile, it's been a devastating process for her to live with. Since her diagnosis, Jessi has made some adjustments in her life to hopefully change her fertility outcome. Over the last 5 years, she has changed her diet and the way she lives. While she continues to do a lot of self-work, she's still processing everything going on. And at number 1 today, we have Gina Rodriguez. Gina Rodriguez has been diagnosed with hypothyroidism at the age of 19 and Hashimoto's disease at 26. Even after her diagnosis, the star spent many of her adult years trying to pretend her health issues didn't exist. With her illnesses causing her to gain weight, have memory issues, fatigue, she's also felt like it was such an enormous thing to manage, so she didn't even try. With the star knowing that there was no way to win, she didn't even know where to begin with her diagnosis. However, when her career started to soar, it would include some big movie opportunities and directing opportunities. Eventually, her stress would start to soar, and it would add to her health problems. When the star started to have panic attacks and anxiety, she would later realize that it was because she was taking too much of her thyroid medication. Once she lowered her dosage, she would remain frustrated at the fact that she had to worry about her diagnosis because it was really important that she remained self-aware. To help her combat the illness, Gina has also become vegan and has taken up weightlifting to help her have a healthier perspective on her life. Well, that's it for this video, my little peaches. Until the next one, remember to stay juicy.